Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to tonight's event. We've got two heavyweights matching up in the ring tonight. We've got BAYC's Otherside versus Illuvium 0. Let's get ready to rumble.
In 2017, the setup on this looked very familiar. Massive hype, limited availability, KYC, and very little information about what anyone was actually buying. Oh yes, that's right, nobody knew what it was that they were actually buying. Well, they knew what it was called. It was called an other deed. But what that was, what it would involve, and what they could do with it, no clue. You just needed a KYC wallet and 305 ape per other deed, which really was quite a lot of money. And that would be enough to secure the opportunity to mint. If only it were that simple. KYC wallets were doing brisk business, going for upwards of an ETH on the black market. Sending funds to a wallet where somebody else knows the private key, well, that sounds like a smart idea to me. But still, the FOMO was so potent, damn the risks. Am I right? Only, and so it turned out, because 305 ape and a wallet was most definitely not enough. The sale opened at 9 p.m. Eastern, and the moment it did, all hell broke loose. 55,000 NFTs were minted at 305 ape each, which means each other deed cost about $5,800, given ApeCoin's price, which is approximately $19 at the time of mint. But Ape had been as high as $25 in the days leading up to the sale, so they banked around $390 million in Ape, but that is now worth less as the price of Ape continued to drop post-sale, so more like $285 million when I first started writing this script. But since then, the price has dropped even further. The whole thing is going into the toilet. Well, not really. You could scrap the Dutch auction model because, as they said, it was bullshit. But this, as it turns out, was ape shit. This decision was taken, they said, to mitigate a gas war of historically high proportions. Now, in their Mirror article, they mentioned the need to mitigate gas 3 times in as many paragraphs. But did they? Well, take a look at this. In a word, no, not even slightly. That huge priapic forcing upwards, well, that was the gas for the sale. So great was the demand for mints that some were pushing as much as 3 ETH in gas alone.
Let's take a look at the fight card for these two, Ben. On the other side of the ring, you had a flat sale that was supposed to be a Dutch auction, but they changed at the last minute to turn it into a flat sale. You had 55,000 available plots of land out of 100,000. Average sales price went for $6,000, equivalent to $6,000 per parcel of other deed. You had a unique wallets of over 27,000 people, and then a total recorded sales volume of 317 million in just under 3 hours. That's insane. Style of play for the other side, which it's not out yet, but the style of play is going to be an MMORPG. How about on the other side of the ring, Illuvium? You had a Dutch auction. You had 20,000 plots of land out of 100,000. An average sales price per plot of land of $3,615 for a total of 72 million sold in 72 hours. And the style of play here is an open world RPG. So you had a lot of similarities, but there's mostly differences here. So why are these two matching up? Why are they in the ring together? Well, simply because the sale of these two both happened within about a month of each other. So naturally, everybody is comparing these auctions. These two heavyweights. You have the other side, BAYC, which is clearly the largest NFT project currently going on. And then you had Illuvium, which is the proclaimed to be the very first AAA game to come to the crypto market. So going to be huge. Before we get too much into those, I just want to remind everybody, we're going to have some timestamps below because we've got a lot to cover here. So this could get lengthy, and we want you to be able to jump around if you need to, if you don't have the full time to spend with us. So be aware of that. Leave us some comments. Let us know what you think about how we're doing the timestamps, length of our conversations, and also these topics. But before we get into that even more, Ben, I'm going to toss it over to you for our disclaimer and this week's crypto news.
All right. Before we get started on the bloodbath that is the crypto market this week, everything we talk about is for informational and educational purposes only. Do your own research before you make any investments, but do your research and make investments, because now is the time to buy, not financial advice. Anyways, first things up, before we get into talking more about the Bored Ape Yacht Club land sale and comparing it to the Illuvium land sale, we got to talk about the Bored Ape Yacht Club phishing attack, where users had over 145 ETH stolen, which right now is not as expensive as it was 3 months ago, but still that's a lot of Ethereum. And they do it the way they get everybody. They fish out there looking for easy suckers. I don't want to say too much without hurting Ryan's feelings.
Who falls for these things?
But they work it on everybody, and all they need to do is get a hold of your account, of your wallet, of your 12 phrase passcode, however they got to do it. Once they do that, they are in charge of everything in your wallet. And they do it by getting into these Discord servers. This is what happened for the Bored Ape Yacht Club. They pose as either a moderator or somebody who can help. They get you to trust them, and then they steal all your money. So it was big news because, like I said, over 145 ETH, almost $250,000 was sucked out of the Bored Ape Yacht Club via their Discord server, which just bad news. We never like to see that happen, but that's why, especially on our channel, we like to encourage Web3 security. You need to, there's only a few things you have to do. This is like handing your debit card out to just anybody. There's only a few things you need to do on Web3, and one of them is never tell anybody your passcode to your MetaMask wallet. Ever. There's just no reason. Ever. So
we like to learn with firsthand experience. So
yes. I had Ryan do a in the field reporting on this. We're going to talk more about it later, but it is possible to happen. Apparently, it happens to a lot of people. It's happened to at least 50% of the MetaMentors team right now. So, but that's the last bad news that we have. That is the last bad news. Everything else in this episode is just good news. Everything, including the crypto market right now, which all this red reminds me of Christmas. And look how beautiful that is. All of those, look how much more you can buy for the same amount of money as you could last week. Oh, there's a green one.
Now it's officially Christmas.
Yeah, now it's officially Christmas. But this is the top metaverse project. So specifically the stuff that we like to talk about on this channel, including ApeCoin right here. That guy in the video was just saying that the ApeCoin was up to about $25 right before that land sale. Now it's less than $4.50. So you can jump in, which that's 5 times less. And right now their market cap is 355 million, almost 356 million. So some of these projects, when we did our episode on them, like Decentraland, they were in the multiple billions, and now they're in the $250 million, 263 million style. And that's the biggest market cap as far as a metaverse specific token project.
Yeah, that's insane.
There's Sandbox. So yeah, it's rough right now. Hopefully you didn't buy 6 months ago and we're planning on retiring this spring. But if you buy this spring, who knows where you'll be next spring, because it doesn't always have to come back up, but a lot of them most likely will. So I'll be buying plenty right now. That's good news. But I know this is basically a Web3 specific channel. I'm trying not to make jokes because I know this is a tough time for a lot of people, but
yeah,
this is a specific, like a Web3. This is what we're talking about: metaverse projects, Web3, Web3 is brand new. Everybody's just getting used to it. And Jack Dorsey has recently announced he's skipping Web 4 and going straight into Web 5. And I don't know, have you heard about this, Ryan?
No, you got my attention.
Yeah, you will, because it's already trending on Twitter. Web 5, he said, I don't know. He basically just said, F number 4, we're going to 5. And 5, get this, it's even more decentralized than Web 3. And it makes a lot of sense, because he in this article, he talks about how projects like Solana, some of the bigger ones, are not quite as decentralized as you think. They've got venture capitalists. There's a lot of people who had money in to get the project started. There's a lot of people who have access to some of your information, even though it's kind of decentralized. And there's a lot of projects that are decentralized. It talks about how it's not the decentralized utopia as a whole. Anything that goes under Web3, a lot of people like to consider them decentralized, but there's a lot of things under Web3 that are basically just, it's big money as usual, just not the Web2 big money. So it's just basically a different wolf, or, same wolf, different sheepskin. So, there you go. That explains why he skipped number 4. He said it's the best of Web 2 and Web 3. So we're going straight to Web 5.
Simple math.
And yeah, what was cool about it, there's a lot of different opinions on the topic, but what's cool about it is he said there won't be the need for tokens the way that there are right now for some of these projects. Everything's on the Bitcoin blockchain, and everything's going to be just that one project. Every project is going to be on the one blockchain, which is the Bitcoin blockchain. That's what's going to make it 100% decentralized, because nobody's got any say on Bitcoin. Nobody directs it. It's, he's a Bitcoin purist. And so the whole thing is going to be built on the Bitcoin blockchain. And, it's what everything in Web3 is promising. But he's saying this actually has the ability to do it, because there are no new tokens. There's no pre-sales. There's no, I don't know how to explain it, but it's basically building only on Bitcoin with no need for these other tokens. So there's no phishing, there's no scamming, there's no rug pulling. It's all on Bitcoin, which means it's all secure. It's the oldest, obviously, blockchain project that we've got going. So it's interesting. There's no release date. He's working on it right now. And we do know, Jack Dorsey did Twitter and Square. He's done a lot of projects that have been very successful. So we assume this one's got some real weight behind it. But he's obviously got no immediate plans for a date on when that kind of stuff's going to get released. But
yeah, that's the first I've heard of Web 5. But he's obviously got lots of interviews out there and group sessions where he's talking about the stuff he's doing with Bitcoin. Bitcoin is mostly known as a store of value, but they've made some changes, and they're creating utility out of it, or at least that's his plan with what he's doing. So it's interesting to see it's finally got a name of Web 5.
It's interesting that, someone who started Twitter or who owned Twitter, would be so adamant, because what we're finding out now with the Elon Musk purchase of Twitter is that Twitter had a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes where they were, shadow banning people, and they were making up names and numbers, and that, there was followers that didn't exist, and then followers that did exist that weren't getting seen, and they were just pulling all the information, all the private information they could from as many people as they could. And so now he's in charge of a project where they're going to be doing it, and either that's really good because he really knows what Web 2 is capable of. And so maybe he is the guy to fight it. But he also participated in it for 10 years. So,
right.
You know what I mean? Like, it's weird that that's the guy it's like having the world's greatest criminal decide to be the world's greatest detective. Okay. But Is that really the guy he wants?
Yeah, he's calling it out. He's calling it all out now, but it's like, well, you were at the head of it for years.
Right.
Like,
You built it.
You didn't know this was going on, or like, yeah, there's a lot of questions for sure, but you definitely can't ignore what he's proposing with Bitcoin.
Right. And there's a lot to be said with that. And it's probably going to be like everything else, even in Web3. I mean, there's a lot of projects with a lot of promises, and there's going to be probably several winners. So there's probably some real heat to Bitcoin being a standalone, the one. If you really want decentralized, I don't think it's going to necessarily get rid of everything else the way that I don't think crypto and decentralized finance is going to get rid of Bank of America tomorrow. I think they will coexist for a while. One will probably be more popular than the other, but eventually the stronger will win out, which is the whole point of decentralized internet, Web3, Web4, Web5. The idea is that your money doesn't keep you in it. The best product wins. The one that the people choose wins. So
it's the American way.
Yeah, and that's what we're hoping for. I've got no problem if it ends up being the best possible way. Then, along with all of your metaverse tokens that you're buying right now, a small portion into Bitcoin, because if they run the entire internet on the Bitcoin network, it will be a valuable coin. And if you don't think Web5 has got it, then you need to just follow Snoop Dogg, because he tweeted out he's already working on Web 6.
I can't figure out Web 3, Ben.
Right. That's what everybody's saying. Oh, yeah. If you go type in Web 5 right now on Twitter, just search that term. People are going, what the heck is going on? I can't, I'm trying to get introduced into Web 3, and Jack Dorsey comes out with Web 5, and Snoop Dogg's working on Web 6. He's like, what year am I in? But I'm sure this was just a humorous joke, because it was right after Dorsey came out with that. But I'm sure Snoop Dogg's just got a sense of humor. I don't think he's working on Web 6 yet. Somebody thought he was working on Web 420. So that I just thought that was funny from Snoop Dogg. But Jack Dorsey's is a real deal. So pretty interesting. And then I figured the last thing we'd talk about, which I showed you already, was some of the projects that we've looked at. Here is the current coin count. Today is June 12th, 2022. I just feel like this kind of stuff will be very interesting during next June, during these episodes, to be able to look back at some of these prices, whether we've continued to drop for a year or whether it's finally turned around and we're going to see all green, and we're going to see Decentraland back up to a $4 billion market cap, which is about 8 times up from where it's at right now. You know what I mean? Like, these projects, Decentraland right now is the number one on coin market cap as far as top metaverse tokens by market cap, with a 263. No, that's the volume. My bad. It's at a 1.5. I was reading the wrong one. $1.5 billion market cap, but when we were looking at it, it was at a 4.5. ApeCoin, and these are I guess not necessarily the whole project. They don't have the lands included and the money going into it. This is just in the coin. So the ApeCoin is in second place in the metaverse, which is at 1.2 billion
without a metaverse.
Without a metaverse. So at Sandbox, then Theta Network, and so then it just goes down from there. Axie Infinity is at just less than $1 billion now, and that was one. I think it was at 3.5. It was right up there with Decentraland, but I think it was at 3.5 billion. Now it's just under 1 billion. We've got some of the like Engine Coin, which is what they're building the games on. That's a good one to get invested in, because no matter who wins, a lot of the projects are using Engine to build the games.
That's the Unreal Engine. Is that right?
Yeah. And so it doesn't matter whichever metaverse projects, there's several of them that are using this. So that Engine Coin should be worth some money for some time. I think all the way down, where was that? XYO, that's another one that I'm big into. It's now under $100 million market cap. That's the geospatial oracle. Yeah. I like that. And you can see over here on the side, these numbers are their market cap overall or their rank overall. So we're looking at them in the metaverse tokens, but even Decentraland, it's number 35 overall.
Mm-hmm.
If we go over to cryptocurrencies, obviously there's the big daddies, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Tether, etc. But a little bit of green mixed in with these reds, but some of these are, stable coins. So, like up here, the USDC and the Tether, they're holding in their Binance's stable coins. So it's just an interesting time to be in the Web3 and crypto market right now. And like Ryan and I were saying, it's a good time. If you're prepared for this, or if you're willing to feel the pain for a couple of months, now's the time to be putting some money into it, because overall, over the last 6 months, so many of these projects are down by so much, and the technology is just getting better and better and better, and all the games are getting closer and closer to coming to fruition. Illuvium, which we'll talk about later, is supposed to be out this year, and once people are able to start playing these games and buying the in-game purchases and buying the NFTs and buying, you know what I mean? Like, it's just going to get so much better. These projects, which got hyped up at the beginning and have since come down with, the stock market, everything is getting beat up right now, but they don't even have a project out yet. If you can get a hold of, Illuvium before the game comes out, you're looking good for closing out 2022. We're halfway through the year, and they're supposed to have it out by the end of the year. So,
yeah, like we've talked about, if you're buying into these currencies and these tokens and stuff like that to strictly for the money reasons, you're really putting yourself out there for a lot of you're putting yourself out there on an emotional roller coaster.
Short-term emotional roller coaster,
right?
For sure.
Right, which is fine. That. If that's what you're doing, but you just got to be aware of it. I'm more interested in researching the projects, looking at the communities, looking at the technology. That's what drew me in the first place. And that's with, when this is coming down so hard and so many people are like, I told you it's a metaverses, you idiot, whatever it is. And I tell, when these conversations come up, which they don't generally approach me like that. It's more like panic, like, what are you, you think this is still a thing? And I'm like, yeah, if you look at the technology, you cannot argue with the technology. We've said from the beginning that majority of these projects are going to go away. That's why you have to diversify. I had a buddy that sent me an article. He's kind of been playing devil's advocate, and he sent me an article. Basically, the article is, guy loses like $345,000, and this was some time ago. This wasn't because of the market, but basically the article is he invested in one project $345,000, and now he's living paycheck to paycheck. I really feel for him, because that stuff does happen, but no matter how solid a project looks, you just can't put all your eggs in one basket, especially if it's your whole life savings and what you're going to buy your house with, right. But
well, yeah, because even the ones you think are steady, like these two shit coins right here, Tether and USD, they're shit coins because they're pegged to the US dollar. So, if you would have used those to buy gas cards 6 months ago, you're getting a third of the amount of gas, actual fuel for your vehicle, because the US dollar can buy less and less and less every day. All of this stuff is getting rough, but fiat money is getting rough right now when you compare it to actually being able to purchase real world stuff. So everything on here is volatile, but when you see this USD coin and it's up 0.05%, but it's pegged to the US dollar.
Yeah.
And 2 years ago you could get a gallon of gas for $2.05, and now it's over $5. So you've lost 250% purchasing power My math might not be right there, but you get what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah.
but that's the best one. But that's because it's pegged just to the U.S. dollar. But the
Right.
U.S. dollar isn't buying as much right now. So just depends on how you look at it. And if you think that stuff like Bitcoin and Ethereum is the future, Ethereum might be the future of Web3. And since Bitcoin's clearly the future of Web5, now's the time to get in. I mean, I say now's the time to get in, but really about 12 hours ago when it was 24,000, that was the time to get in. And
did it drop to 24,000 in the last 24 hours?
I wish I could.
That's all right.
Bring it up. But yeah, it really hit the deck earlier this morning. But whatever it is in 10 more days, whether it's up 5,000 or down 5,000, it's also the time to buy.
Yeah.
And whatever it is in 30 days, same thing. Like this is where it's at. Get in.
It's time to do your own research and strongly consider investing in some projects that you're interested in.
Just pick a handful. Oh yeah, Polygon, which Ryan and I have been buying for bridging it and buying stuff in Next Earth. Man, I think I bought Polygon at $1.75.
Yeah,
close to $2, and it's at 53 cents right now.
Yeah, I love Polygon. They've just got so many projects.
I agree, and that's one that's like, if you're not willing to hold on to a specific project like a Litecoin or an Axie or Sandbox, Decentraland, any of those, find something like a Polygon or an Ethereum that you like, that you want to read about, that you kind of have a connection with, because Polygon's going to be used on a lot of different networks, a lot of different projects. It's just it's a great network. And
you have to look. It's always the same thing. There is a ton of flashy things going on here. It's 99.9% flash. You have to look and ground yourself in the projects that are the foundational pieces. I've used the comparison of the gold rush in San Francisco in the 1800s. It wasn't the gold miners that struck it rich. There was a few that struck it rich, but it was the shop owners, it was the transporters, it was the grocery, or I don't know, they didn't call it groceries, but the store owner, Though it was the foundational pieces that when you look back over history, it's here. You look at the foundational pieces of the blockchain, the smart contract, NFT foundational, utility, stuff like that. That's my belief. Time will tell if I'm wrong, but when you stick to the technology is ultimately what I believe in, which is why I'm investing in it here. It's why I'm pivoting my real estate business into it. It's because I believe the technology, without question, is the way forward.
And like you were saying about the flash, there is a lot of flash, even in this bloodbath. If you go to the biggest gainers, some of these are up over 218% in the last 24 hours. But if you look through some of these, like when we're talking about flash, this is what Ryan's talking about. Right now, the pet sneaker coin, I've never even heard of it. It's up 218%. So if you had bought $1,000 worth of that yesterday, you'd be doing pretty good.
Yeah.
But will that even exist in 6 months? I don't want to. I always hate saying that because, that's if you could have done the same thing with a list of websites back in the late 90s, and you could have said the same thing about Google. Look at this Google. Right. Will it even exist in 6 months? Well, 19 out of 20 of them might not, but maybe pet sneaker is the next big thing. Yeah. I don't think so. But look at, a lot of these names, these biggest gainers, the ones that are doing the best right now, almost all of them are unheard of. You know what I mean?
Yep. Do your own research.
Yeah.
There's nothing flashy about it. It's I enjoy it because it's fun to discover new projects, which is why we're doing this channel, but it is a lot of work, and you're taking that time away from something, your family, your, other work, sport, whatever it is, but there's no way around it. You have to spend your own time, look for people that understand, or that are, are learning, or what,
Right.
or learn by their successes and their mistakes, which I have plenty of. So,
well, that's what Ryan and I are doing is we're following a bunch of YouTubers. We're looking at a bunch of websites. We're following the news. We know that this is the future. We know we want to get in, but we're just trying to learn and figure out how, when, where, how much. This is as new to us as it is to a lot of people watching it. In fact, it's probably newer to us than it is to a lot of people watching this kind of stuff. But we know that this is where we want to be. So now's the time to learn. I was just telling Ryan earlier that now's the time to be learning about it on its way back down, because you don't want to start reading about Ethereum on its way up to $100,000 a coin. And every week that it takes you to read something and go, I really think this is good, it's gone up another $1,000. And then you think, you know what? I think I'm ready to make an investment. And it's gone up another $1,000. Now's the time. While everything's crashing and consolidating, you can be reading. You can see which ones are. I think it was Warren Buffett said, when the tide goes out, you can see who was skinny dipping. And it's like right now, as the tide goes out, you can tell which projects have more than just flash going on. The ones that are still making the investments, the ones that are still doing good, the ones that are proceeding with their roadmaps, these are the ones that know what the crypto market is like. They weren't all in on, we just really need our coin to 100x this summer or else we're screwed. The ones that are still powering through a market like this,
yeah, it's all yeah, I think there's opportunity there. Do with it what you want.
And that all led up to the only other thing I was going to say was crypto crash. Hashtag crypto crash is trending on Twitter worldwide right now. So if you feel like your wallet is down, so does everybody else. Of course, most of it, again, like I say that, most of it's still overwhelmingly positive. Here's this homeless guy still buying the dip.
Let's follow up with him in a year and see where he's at.
Yeah, there's Ryan still buying one last dip.
Lost my pants in the deal.
But that's that. That's it for the news.
Internet wins again. All right, let's jump into these auctions. I really had to try and stay the course with this because it's so easy to get drawn into the actual projects and what's going on or whatever. But the purpose of this episode was to compare the auctions. And if you've been following along, then you probably know a lot of this, or at least you know a lot of what's going on with BAYC. But you may not have seen what happened with Illuvium, which is kind of the silent hero of the last month. Again, we're comparing these two. There's similarities, but there's probably more differences. But we're comparing them because these were two major auctions that had been coming up for a while and happened within basically the same month, or just outside of the same month. So you had BAYC that took place on the 30th, I think, 29th or the 30th. And then you had, which was the Other Deeds, their metaverse auction. And then you had Illuvium 0 that took place at the very 1st of June. So let's start with BAYC. We're going to kind of just do some comparison and also look at what went well and what went horribly wrong. And then we'll just kind of tie it all in at the end here. But so BAYC was going to do a Dutch auction. That was the plan. They were catching a lot of grief from BAYC owners and just people that were interested in buying Other Deeds. And so at the last minute, they decided to ditch the auction, and to the point that they called it bullshit. And that was on basically the 28th of April. The auction's supposed to go live the next day. I think it was the evening of the 29th. And so they come out with the auctions are bullshit, or Dutch auctions bullshit. And basically they say they do not successfully mediate and negate gas prices. So hindsight is 2020, but that's their idea for ditching the Dutch auction, or at least that's what they say is, hey, we don't think it's going to help with the gas wars. we're going away from that. Well, now we know that that was not the right case. Now, that's not to say if they did a Dutch auction, it wasn't going to be a bloodbath also when you're dealing with this project with this much hype, the biggest NFT project going right now. And so they ditch it. It goes live 9 p.m. Eastern on, like I said, I think it's the 29th. Do you know for sure, Ben, was it the 29th or 30th? I think it was the 29th.
Illuvium was on the 2nd, but I'm not sure when the other side was.
Okay. Thank you.
It's about a month before.
Yeah. So anyways, so the other side, which is the metaverse of BAYC, their NFTs are called other deeds. So you were bidding or you're going after an other deed. And the auction setup was they were going to have 5 tiers, I think, which is very similar to Illuvium. And they were going to buy it, and it was going to start with basically the first one, then go to the second and third. And they had it set up where the first one, the first round, you could buy each KYC'd wallet. You had to be KYC'd, which I'm going to get into a little bit more there because there was a big problem there as far as I'm concerned. But you had to be KYC'd, and each wallet in the first zone of auction, you could buy up to 2 other deeds. And that was it. The idea was to go from 1 to 2 to 3, all the way up to 5. And it didn't make it out of the first tier of auctions. 55,000 plots of other deeds sold in under 3 minutes is what I have seen. Obviously, if you're selling 55,000 NFTs, let alone anything else that was going on the Ethereum blockchain at that point, you're going to see massive gas wars. And that's exactly what happened. Doing my research on this, Ben, I really had to keep myself focused in on just the auctions. This video is comparing the auctions of the BAYC other side metaverse versus Illuvium Zero's land sale. So both of them were selling basically their lands for the metaverse within BAYC's other side and Illuvium Zero's play to earn game, but you're both buying land pieces. And so let's start with the other side, probably the most well-known. It was considered depending on who you ask, but it did not go as planned, at least according to those who were buying other deeds or were KYC'd to do it. So what's the stats there? So in order to buy a BAYC other deed in the other side metaverse, you had to have a KYC'd wallet. You had to have 305 Bitcoin or 305 ApeCoin per piece of land that you were hoping to buy. And then you needed some ETH to actually pay for the gas transaction. So April 29th, at the last minute, essentially, BAYC comes out and says, you know what? You got to have a KYC'd wallet. Let me step back. April 28th, they come out and say, you know what? We're going to ditch the Dutch auction. It's bullshit anyways. It doesn't help mitigate. You can see it here. They do not successfully mediate demand or really negate high gas prices. So hindsight is 2020, but here they're coming out and saying, you know what? This Dutch auction's not going to work anyways to help with gas. We're going to go to just a straight flat price sale, which is 305 ApeCoin. So you have to have 305 ApeCoin in a KYC'd wallet, which they come out on April 29th and tell you, hey, you got to have a KYC'd wallet, or actually you can actually KYC your wallet at that time. So like a day before the sale is to go live, you're KYC in the wallet. You got 55,000 plots of land, 305 ApeCoin per plot, and then you need a little bit of ETH for gas, right? Who knows, $100, $200, let's be safe and just have $200 at least in ETH, right? So that we can buy our plot of land. There's 55,000 plots. They're going to break it up into 5 tiers in a sale. This should go swimmingly, right? Wrong. 55,000 plots, the largest gas war to date, shuts down Ethereum, and all of this happens in under 3 minutes. It doesn't make it out of the first zone. The only success, as far as I'm concerned, is you pissed off a shit ton of people. On top of that, you had people that paid like over 2 ETH in gas and still weren't even able to mint. So there's so many questions I have here that I couldn't find answers to, like why KYC'd at the last minute? Why did they ditch the Dutch auction? They tell you, but I don't know that I buy that. And then on top of it, like you had it broke down into zones. How did they not know that they were just going to have this mass influx of buyers on zone 1? Like I hadn't seen anybody talk about, you know, hey, we're going to break this into zones, and this should keep more than 27,000 unique wallets coming in the first zone. Like it doesn't make any sense to me. And a lot of people who were involved in this transaction felt that. And let me say, I was not. So I'm worked up over the frustration of the way it went down because it doesn't make any sense to me. I can only imagine the people that lost ETH, although they were told they were going to be reimbursed, and I hadn't seen anything about that. Maybe they are. So I'm just going to jump up here real quick. After the Illuvium sale, Kieran Warwick, who is the CEO of Illuvium, one of the brothers, comes out and basically says, I guess Dutch auctions aren't bullshit after all, because we just ran one and it went flawless. And not only did it go flawless, it was ultra impressive to see how everything about it, the IP, like the process, the time, everything. I actually bought a piece of land in there and then lost it less than 12 hours later, thanks to a dumbass move. But we'll talk about that later. But it was a flawless auction. So let's look at some other Dutch auctions that have taken place here recently. So this article, are Dutch auctions really bullshit? Obviously, that gets some attention. And so it comes out and they're basically kind of breaking down some of the other projects within Web3 that have performed Dutch auctions. And I didn't realize this, but there are quite a few of them that had. Kevin Rose, he did a project, Dig, came out, did a Dutch auction, 5 ETH, started out at 5 ETH price. It didn't sell out until it hit 1 ETH. So Dutch auction, the idea with the Dutch auction is you start at a very high price and come down over a period of time until it sells. A lot of these Dutch auctions will they'll ask their community to tell them what they would be willing to pay for an NFT. And that's kind of where they set. So depending on what the ceiling is that, you know, you and I, Ben, put into this community, hey, we're willing to pay this much. Then a lot of times they set the ceiling there and work down. I didn't hear Illuvium actually doing that. Maybe they did. And obviously the Otherside, BAYC, ditched that. Azuki did a Dutch auction at starting price at 1 ETH, public sale. It sold out. There was a gas war, which after the fact they're figuring is because they started at 1 ETH for this project. But they did a smart contract and they used the ERC 721A, which from what I've read is becoming the standard for if you want to avoid gas wars, is this little A here at the end. So that helped keep it from basically being a bloodbath is the way that I understand it on the Azuki sale. You also had CryptoKitties in here somewhere that did a Dutch auction a while back. And there's a few others. Oh, Pixelmon, it talks a little bit about them. So there had been other projects that had done a Dutch auction that maybe didn't go flawless, but actually went a little bit better. So there was a history of it that you could go back and look at. For some reason, BAYC decided that's not the route that it's going to go. They don't think it'll help. And maybe that was sincere. Maybe they didn't think so. But if that was the case and they decided to go with this direct sell at 305 ApeCoin, how in the hell was it not laid out better that everyone didn't just funnel in on the first tier of sales, tier number 1? They say the KYC in the wallets was to help with that, to avoid that, but clearly that's not what happened. That said, they still raised like $317 million in under 3 minutes, sold the project out. They're going to return the ETH to people that lost out on not getting anything, but it was a highly successful, from a financial standpoint, it was highly successful. So you can bash it and be mad all you want, but it raised a tremendous amount of money. The ApeCoin then took a dive after that. But that, we see that with every sale, it seems like. Once that's sold out, you don't need the ApeCoin to buy anymore. So a lot of people are ditching it. Although I think the ApeCoin is a tremendous value because it's what's going to be used within the project. And so I think there's a lot of value there. But it took a dive, so that pissed a lot of people off. But ultimately, it raised a ton of money. So you can call it as you want, but I think that's a pretty decent success as far as that goes.
Right. The goal is to make money, and they made $300+ million. So while they did expose some of the weaknesses of, again, the Ethereum network, which is what Ethereum's working on trying to figure out, is how to avoid that kind of stuff to where stuff can move a little more fluid. The project the BAYC Otherside did what it needed to do and made a lot of money. There were people that didn't get what they wanted, but it wasn't necessarily the other side that failed. It was the network that they were using to do the auction, which was Ethereum. And that's one of the things that Ethereum's working on with Ethereum 2.0 is avoiding gas wars and gas fees and a congested network with their proof of stake going over their proof of work concept.
Exactly. And one of the things that threw a lot of people off, me as an outside spectator, and I think a lot of people that are involved in the project, is immediately afterwards, they came out and threw Ethereum under the bus and basically said, well, I guess we need to find our own chain. Anybody that knows anything about how these things operate knows it's not the metaverse, the game is not going to operate on Ethereum. It's too expensive. It's not possible at all. So to act like maybe that was what they were going to do in the first place and then throw Ethereum under the bus and then say, oh, we're going to go ahead and maybe we'll create our own. That basically a lot of people took that as an insult. Like you're treating us like we're kids, like we don't know the problems with this already. So ultimately, all 55,000 sold out under 3 minutes. The average sale was around $6,000 per plot of land. The gas fee to get it purchased on average was above that. They paid more in gas. I seen one article that said there was up to $14,000 paid in ETH for the gas fee. Just something nuts to watch and review and see how it unfolds, but ultimately a success from the financial standpoint. So now let's jump over to Illuvium's. And again, let me say, I didn't participate in the Otherside auction. I am not in a position to do that whatsoever. So that definitely wasn't happening. But Illuvium, I did participate in, and I bought virtual land in Next Earth, as you know, Ben. We've talked about. This was the only other piece of virtual land that I was attempting to buy in. So I don't have, and it's the first auction I've ever participated in. So I don't have anything to compare it against. But my history of learning about Web3 and getting used to these and digital wallets and setting up for my crypto has been extremely cumbersome, and to say it lightly, and a lot of times very difficult. The whole Illuvium sale was a piece of cake. Like even as I was reading up to it, I thought, oh gosh, this is going to be like, I've got to connect my wallet, which is fine, but then I've got to connect to IMX, Immutable X, because that's the blockchain where my land is going to be held. And it was so stinking easy. And navigating the IP, all the stuff that went on with Illuvium and their land sale was just beautiful.
And we actually were live during that. I'll put a link to that below in this video. But we actually went live for almost 2 hours while we watched Ryan kind of look at a couple of pieces and kind of wait around and decide. And then he actually bought it. And yeah, it was I don't want to say slow, but it was very methodical, and it was doing what everybody expected. And if you wanted to get in and get a piece, you could get a piece. You know, that Dutch auction, especially since they spread it out over 72 hours, it was very reasonable if you wanted to get land and you were willing to pay for it to get in and get the piece. The problem with stuff like BAYC was how much money did they leave on the table? The fact that it cost $12,000 in gas fees, how much more money could the project have made had those people been able to bet or not bet, bid $12,000 more dollars? If they were willing to pay $24,000, for a $12,000 piece of land, how much more money could the project have made had they made it reasonable enough to where it's like, look, I want one of these and I will pay what it can get. A lot of people who spent this crazy money or who tried to spend this crazy money getting a piece walked away with nothing. So how much money was left on the table? Imagine if they had the ability to let every capable person with the money come in there and bid, whether they do it the English style or the Dutch style. It went so fast and so quick that there were a lot of people that left with all of their money, or some of their money minus gas fees, and no property. And it's just like, how much more could the project have got if everybody was able to get in there and bid and it went slower and more reasonable? Yeah. The way that the Dutch auction went over 72 hours. If you were in an airplane for, the 1 hour, the little small window when that auction was going on, you were just out of luck. There was just nothing you could do about it. But the Dutch auction went all weekend. So Ryan picked a time where he thought would be slow because a lot of the buyers from America maybe. So we kind of got up early in the morning and he sat down and he got to start looking at some of the properties. And then he was able to go, okay, I'm just going to grab one of these and we're going to see what happens. And it was like the money he wanted to spend, he spent, he got it. And I just think that the other side probably left a lot of money on the table, because I know there was people that walked away with all the money in their wallet and no property going,
yeah,
what the heck?
Which brings to point that within like a day or a couple days, secondary sales of the other side, the stat that I had saw, part of the problem here is the numbers are all over the place. Even trying to get it from the direct source is very hard to get a direct number. But the number I saw was over $500 million in secondary sales of the other deeds. So cleaned house there. So there's opportunities there, but they had went from an average of like $6,000 per plot of land to like it was. I had the stats here, but at minimal they were selling for over 20,000. Some of them going for way higher than that. But so yeah, agreed. I think they just left a lot of money on the table and took a project to at prior to that. Everybody thought was this is how you run an NFT project. Then they did that, and it was like, what the hell was like that?
We talked about
character is I think the problem for most people, including me.
That's how you described it during our episode of the Bored Ape Yacht Club. Was like it was just textbook, curveball, and everybody went, "What the hell was that?" That. You know what I mean? You were doing everything right. And then all of a sudden you tried a knuckle curveball that went wild and everybody left unhappy. I mean, it was just disappointing the way that it ended up.
On to Illuvium, 72-hour sale. They raised $72 million, 20,000 plots. I think there was actually like 31 that didn't sell in reality. Average price was $3,615 here. The lowest price that one of the properties went for was $567. The highest price was $133,283. And they did it in a tier sale. There was supposed to be 5 tiers. The 5th tier was only 2 plots of land that actually contained the 2 arenas within Illuvium. They decided to postpone that because that's going to be an English auction, not a Dutch. That was the plan from the beginning, but there was some type of last minute issue. So they did tiers 1 through 4 over 72 hours. And I believe the time window, the 72 hours, was the major reason that this was a major success from the point that there was minimal gas fees. Like it was as clean as you could possibly do. The technology was there, the setup was there, but also the time frame just made, I believe, made all the difference. Had BAYC been able to actually run that auction in those time zones like they had planned to, spreading it out, and not all hadn't happened in one, I think it could have made a big difference, even if it was only 24 hours. But Illuvium, just from all angles, was prepared for it and just nailed it, far as I'm concerned. And as a person that was involved in the sale, it just, no question whatsoever, it is the way that you want to move forward when you're looking at doing a Dutch auction. It set the standard for it. So here was just a series of tweets that came from, I can't even hardly say it, Vinzo Cinci. Doesn't matter. I apologize since
Vinny.
That's Vinny. Vinny. There we go, Vinny. So basically, Vinny's just letting you know, hey, I got my Illuvium land. Such an amazing experience. And I'm showing his Twitter thread here. This was everybody. I've yet to find anybody that just was not overly impressed, to the point that I haven't seen anyone that was like, I tried to buy land and I couldn't get it bought because of gas, or I got beat out, or none of that. Like, anybody that wanted to be involved in this project was able to. And he just goes on to, state some of the stuff that he was ultimately impressed on: overall strategy and experience for Illuvium, navigating the Illuvidex, the IP, the setup for it, just above and beyond what you would expect from a AAA game that is rolling out later this year. If you have a game that you think is going to be the game of the year, and then your auction looks like this, I mean, it just keeps falling right in line for what you want to see out of a project, which they've been this way from the beginning. Very cool interactive map here that shows the lands, the actual auction, and the tier here. Again, this was just flawless. I could go on and on about that. No gas wars. Typical Dutch auction worked as planned to the T. Like I said, this is probably going to be the standard, I'm guessing, for how Dutch auctions are going to go from here. You basically can see that, yeah, these are the different lands here: tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, and then tier 4 here. And just extremely consistent all the way through the batches. Just performed very, very well. And even the numbers matched up. A lot of the predictions were between 70 and like 140 or 160 million total in sales, and right on.
I feel like you definitely have that ability with a Dutch auction, is you can kind of put the price a little bit higher, but you know that it's probably going to come down, but you know it's not going to go up. So you can say, what do we need out of this project? Okay, 50,000 plots, 1 or 2 ETH per, you know what I mean? You can start it there, and this is what we're kind of going for, and it'll trickle down on some of them, which you see the price kind of go down. They started up high, and it went nice and easy, but it's like it's a much more consistent, much more predictable price strategy.
Well, and it's nice that, like as we talked in my live, like if you've pinpointed certain plots of land that you're like, I want this plot of land because of this reason, you just had to buy it sooner in the auction. You paid more money for it, but you generally had that option to do it. Right. I wanted to get it down at the bottom of that basically is low, pretty much as low as I could get it, but I still wanted to grab a plot of land that I thought was a good location. And I was able to do that. I was able to buy it just above the floor price that it ever went to. Very excited about that experience for as long as it lasted.
I'm sure the guy who hacked your account is glad you put so much work into it.
Yeah, he is. I'm sure he's benefiting totally from it. So again, he just kind of goes in. So here's, plot a map. Check, if you want to look at the auction itself, you can check it out or watch the live that we did. But just a flawless transition. And I think, let me close kind of with my thesis, my report here. The 72 hours was a huge, huge deal. The way that they set it up, the technology, everything else flawless. The sale went very, very well. And I think a lot of that, if not all of it, is just because the creators of this game, the Warwick brothers and all their staff and everybody that's involved, cares about the people that are involved in this project. They wanted people of this project, if you wanted to buy land, they wanted you to be able to buy land. They didn't want you to get ripped off either by the land or the gas fees or anything like that. They didn't come out and say that up front, but if you'd been following this project, you could see that consistently with their character is they were putting the actual user, the player, the investor, the buyer, people like me who are buying a plot of land, they were putting us first in everything they did. And that came through with, shining brightly. So just a really, really impressive auction. Like I said, is probably going to be, I think is going to be the auction that anybody that's looking at doing a Dutch auction is going to compare it to.
Right.
That said, Illuvium raised 72 million, BAYC raised 317 million. Obviously, you had 20,000 plots with Illuvium, more to come in future sales, and you had 55,000 with BAYC. So rate it however you want as far as a success, whether it's financially or the process. But
how many more are available on BAYC? They're going to do more? Are they going to auction more?
Yeah, there's a total. Well, I don't think they're going to auction anymore. There's a total of 200,000, but I think a lot of those or all of them were going to be dropped to current BAYC or Mutant Ape owners. And part of that remaining 100,000 is going to be left for the actual people that are on the project, the creators, the devs, all that stuff. So 200,000 total. It's really confusing because you have to look for that because it looks like there's just 100,000, but that's not the case. There's 200. But I think that was the only auction. I think that's a done deal.
And I think that's part of the reason, though, also why Illuvium probably brought in less, because this is also the way they spread out this auction. They also said we're going to have another land auction in the future. And so this is kind of testing the waters. I mean, the market's down right now, so you don't want to maybe auction all of your stuff right now while the market's low. But people also know that they're going to have another chance. You're going to be able to see where it's at right now. You're going to have another chance at getting some in the future. So they're not just spreading out this first auction, but they're spreading out the whole land purchasing process. And there's going to be another auction, which will probably, I hope that it does better. I hope the people who bought the land right now are so happy with it that when round 2 comes, the land prices are even more expensive. You know what I mean? Like for the sake of the project, you want to be able to pull in more money round 2 because they go, look what the people who got it in round 1, look how good they're doing. Look at their ROI. Look what they've done with it. And
that's Illuvium's plan.
Right. So Illuvium coming up, they've got left for this first big auction is the 2 stadiums that they'll be doing. They don't have a set date on it, but they said it should be sometime here in the very near future. And instead of the Dutch auction, which is what they did for the common land, where they start at a price and come down, they're doing a traditional English auction, which the reason why this works in this situation as opposed to the BAYC doing it for 50,000 plots is because there's only 2 items in the auction. So they can spread it out over 3 hours or 24 hours and slowly, and take all the bids because there's only 2 items getting auctioned off. So you can spend more, you don't want 50,000 items with 20 bids each, but you can do 2 items with 10,000 bids each, and it won't nearly clog down the system. So, and it gives you a no ceiling on how much. They're not going to start at 100 ETH and come down. They're going to start at a set price and just let the market take it to wherever it wants. So any big players, any company, anybody with a lot of money anybody that wants one of the 2 stadiums in the first AAA rated game on the blockchain, this is the chance. You know what I mean? It's so interesting.
They're going to host esports competitions, and my understanding is that's going to be outside of Illuvium, like actual esports. Because that I can full on picture that in my brain. I'm terrible about that stuff, but I can see it.
Right, I just, it's such an unprecedented, very cool. It's not a little piece of land that you can build on. I mean, it's like the game is basically revolving around these 2 locations. So everybody has built in around here, and then they're going to actually auction off the 2. And so we're not sure when that auction is, but I know that's another one we would really like to do a live stream during the auction, just to talk about, just mostly because Ryan and I are going to be teamed up and watching it. So we're going to go live at the same time.
Heck yeah.
And talk about the stuff that's going on, hopefully take some questions. We're learning as much as everybody else is, but maybe we can have some people in the chat that know more than we do. And we can watch and see who's bidding on it, try to figure out who's making the play, what they've got planned for it. Because, I mean, it could be an individual. It could be FTX. It could be, you know what I mean? Like, there's just so it's going to come down to whoever's, which would be awesome if a DAO or a guild bought it. And we just don't know whether the price is going to go for 250,000 or 4.3 million. You know, back of my head, there's always that chance it could be a record breaker, and it's like it could have. Very exciting. We don't know when that one's coming, but that's the next step for the Illuvium land sales, is the 2 stadiums that they'll be auctioning off. They've got the rest of the plots available for sale. They'll be doing a round 2 land sale, but that won't be until the game actually gets released, which is sometime this year. If you own a plot of land, you'll be able to harvest it for resources. When the game requires more resources, when they start to get more players into the game, when they start to have more money coming into the game than the resources in the land are capable of handling steadily, then they'll be able to do the round 2 land sale, which will be another. How many plots is it on land 2? Do you know? Another 20,000?
Yeah, that's what the discussion has been. Is it's just going to be 20,000, 20,000, 20,000 until they've sold all 100,000.
So, which is cool, because then it'll take some of the strain off. Plus, you'll be able to get in. And the reason they don't want to do it, they don't want to schedule it, and they don't want to do it immediately afterwards, is they want to give the people who've invested early the opportunity to really get some return on their investment. Plus, they're going to get more money in the second round the longer they wait, because you'll see how good the first round land sales have done. I mean, if everybody in the first round has completely returned their purchase price, you know, especially some of the smaller tiers have a chance at it because it wasn't too expensive. But if they can get 100% ROI in the first 2 years of the game playing, imagine what the round 2 land sales will go for. They'll be able to ask anything, because if they're like, hey, look, at this rate, whatever you put into it's going to be given back in 18 or 24 months. So again, this is just a strategic, I think, rather than the go with the hype and try to get all your money up front the way BAYC did it. I think they're playing the long game. I think that hey man, we can get 70 million this time, 200 million the next time, and then we've still got 3 more big ones. You know, as the game keeps going, they could really pull this out and make it work. So I really appreciate, as a fan of the industry, the way that they've done it. The whole project has seemed to run smoothly. They've got a roadmap for a smooth process into gameplay, the next round of land sales, and they're not capping it by just making it boring Dutch auctions all the time. They're gonna do the standard English auction for the stadiums, which I really think that's going to be big news. I think not just for us, but I think that's going to be, whether they break any records or not, I think that's going to be a huge deal selling those two stadiums.
I know I'm setting myself up for disappointment, but I can just picture the live English auction going down and like in the actual one of the stadiums, like,
Oh, yeah.
like
Wouldn't that be
I don't know
nuts?
how you do that, but just like the background, it's like gladiator style for virtual land. I know.
Yeah. I'm going to make a prediction and say there's going to be some people getting in there that are coming out of nowhere that everybody expects some big money crypto. There's a lot of crypto bros who've made a lot of money that might be able to get in on some of this. But I think maybe something like an FTX or a crypto.com, like an actual company that goes, hey, look, this is our chance to cement ourselves into a metaverse game, a play to earn game.
Yeah, so, I mean, you have actual stadium naming rights, just like crypto.com. How much did they pay to like this is this is just in it's a
both of those. FTX and crypto.com have real world sports arenas with the naming rights for 20 years. This is the same thing and potentially bigger, because the only people that are going to play in the old Staples Center is what crypto.com bought. That's a very regionally specific. Right. Now that'll be on TV and stuff, but this is worldwide. This is 24/7, and this is for a long time. So it's very interesting to see who's going to come. I mean, Bill Gates could come out of nowhere and drop a bill on it.
Yeah,
and you know what I mean. It's possible. Anything. This is open to anybody, not just KYC MetaMask wallets. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with that on Illuvium.
It's going to be big.
Did you have a video for Illuvium?
Yeah, actually I do have a little bit of it's a little bit of a land video. It's, to be honest with you, it's a little boring, but it's what we've got. So obviously, depending on the tier of land you've got, will determine the amount of fuels, the elements, stuff that you have. So basically just overall production. And it appears, at least on this video, that you can kind of build it out. And then once it's built out, then what they're saying is per plot of land, you're going to need about 20 to 30 minutes a day just to go in and pull the fuels and do that type of stuff. So it's a residual income opportunity. It's ongoing, day-to-day play. And if there's a lot of people that have bought these properties that are actually, they'll contract this out to somebody else to play, to do the recycling.
You know what? That's almost what I just said was, because 30 minutes a day, if it's 30 minutes a day per plot and you've bought 10 plots, then you're going to pay somebody to go do your mining for you, to go set your stuff up, to pull your fuels out. I mean, that'd be like a day job for somebody in a country where wages are much less than America. You know what I mean? Or maybe not, depending on how it is. But it's like, oh, yeah, I got to get on there for 3 hours a day. I got to set up. I got to do this, and this. I've got a lot of the crypto projects like B and Sweatcoin and all this stuff that, it does require a little bit of time every day. I like to go for a nice long walk. And on the walk, I hit up all the buttons and go through all the stuff. But it's like every day you have to kind of reset this stuff. The Pi network, the B network, the Sweatcoin, and then you can watch ads for more crypto. So I do that when I'm going on a nice long walk. But yeah, something like this, that would be a job
if crypto will make Ben exercise and work, then then there's something here.
I know. And it's, imagine being a person who is like, okay, I've got 3 TVs or 3 monitors or 3 screens, 3 computers. And it's like, okay, I've got 3 different people paying me. And that's what I do for 8 hours a day is I get onto their account. I do their work. I pull their fuels. I put it up on the marketplace. I send it to where it needs to go. I mean, they're creating an actual industry. You know what I mean? An actual living, breathing economy where they've got to pay workers, where that people can go in and make money, where it's like, hey, stuff has to be done. I think it's great.
Yeah, that's one of those areas where like people that are just getting into this, and even me, where you're trying to wrap your brain around what working in a virtual world could look like, or this, and it's not for everybody, but there's people around the world that like we've talked about, the economy does not look good. There's going to be a lot of people that are probably going to be out of work, unfortunately. This isn't going to replace their income if you're in America or something, but it might be something to give you something, some type of income or whatever. We'll see how it unfolds, let alone third world countries. Let me say one more thing real quick. As a bonus to people who bought land within this first Illuvium sale, you also get to pull what's called blueprints. Essentially, as these alluvials come through your land or whatever, making their trek to the arena or whatever, they leave traces of their DNA behind, and you can make these blueprints, which are NFTs that you can either then sell or you can keep to help produce one-for-one NFTs. So you have this, this Illuvium pictured. He's the only one like that, but there might be 18 versions of him, a dark version, a light version, all these. So that was a benefit if you bought within this first sale, you could produce what's called these blueprints, which a lot of people are super excited about. So
yeah, I did see the blueprints, but I never really dug in too deep. But that's interesting. I think this is going to be a good game. I think it'll be fun to play, which is the most important thing. If you can get some people in there that like to play the game, everything else, the economy goes with it.
Yeah, I'm not a gamer per se. I haven't been for a lot of years, but I constantly, as these things roll out, I'm like, I could, like the land, it was like, you're going to need 20 to 30 minutes a day. And I was like, I'm going to have to hire that out, or I'm going to have to really make myself do that. And then as this has gone on, I'm like, this is going to be it's going to be a lot of fun. It's just not pulling resources. Like it's a whole, like I'm becoming a gamer is what's happening because of Illuvium.
Isn't that cool?
Sorry, Mom. So let me pass it back over to you here, but very cool.
Yeah. Well, all I was going to say is, as far as the Bored Ape Yacht Club goes, it's teamed up with Animoca Brands. I don't think they have the next date. I guess the rest of their land is getting divided up among developers and the rest of the team, and then airdrop to people who have the current land. So Bored Ape Yacht Club, we're also waiting for that whole project to actually come to fruition, to actually open up the world. So
I've actually got a video if you want to see.
Yeah, that would be great. We're going to be keeping on top of it. You take it back over to your screen.
Yeah, I'm just bringing it up now.
Mm-hmm. Lots of exciting stuff. I mean, besides the price of the coins, there's so much exciting stuff going on in the whole industry right now. So this is the other side.
Yeah, this was released here just recently. This is just some of the footage of what the other side could look like. And like this is one particular piece of land he's running on right here. There's the iconic swamp house from the video. It's pretty short here, but yeah, this is just kind of an idea of what the other side metaverse might look like.
And the other side metaverse, they said it was an MMORPG.
Yeah,
massive multiplayer online role-playing game.
Yeah, and it's like a kind of like Illuvium. It's a Illuvium's an open world RPG is what they're going with, but there's a battler where you go to battle aspect to it. There's several aspects. Same thing with BAYC. Other side is it's an say it for me, Ben. MMORPG.
MMORPG.
But it's also
massive multiplayer online role-playing game.
Yes, but it's also it's also a metaverse that's going to be an interoperable metaverse with other metaverse. So like I thought Other Side was just a metaverse. No, it's obviously a game, multiplayer game, but it's also an interoperable metaverse. So it's going to be wide open also. So.
Well, hopefully he does more than this video, because he's just doing the same thing over and over again.
No, it's not good enough for you, huh?
No.
Yeah, that's it. This is the
You got a lot of work to do. For $350 million, you better get going on this Bored Ape Yacht Club.
It's Animoca. I'm sure there's plenty coming, but we won't know when. We're not going to know until it starts rolling out. So, kind of like Illuvium, but Illuvium is the gaming beta is supposed to be out in the next few weeks. The game to follow out this year, if it stays on track. Otherside is probably years behind, but as a player, as an investor, you're investing with the future, the long game, like you said, in mind. Yeah. This is not a quick deal, although Illuvium's Zero Land can start producing income here pretty quick with the blueprints and possibly the beta too. So it's exciting times. The market's going down, the technology is increasing, more and more projects are coming out, but a lot of the fake projects are going to be going away.
Yeah, and I know you mentioned this also, that while we're not hoping for a recession or people losing their jobs or people getting laid off, that is the way the industries, the whole economy is going right now. There might be a lot of people at home looking for a way to make some money this winter and next, through the next spring. And if that's the case, then these projects are going to get an influx of players, which is good for everything.
Yep.
So
that's it, man.
Cool.
You got anything else to add for this show, Illuvium and Otherside auctions?
Yes, I do. While we don't offer financial advice here, here's some financial advice for you. The worse it gets, the more opportunity presents itself. I mean, I know we say this all the time, and I know Ryan's big on land. There are, you can go get the land NFTs for most of these projects in OpenSea if they're in your price range, and that depends on what your price range are. But I just really, really enjoy the token side of this because you can get in for cheap. ApeCoin, you can get into the Bored Ape Yacht Club. Right now, that price is $4.35. Sandbox, $1. Decentraland, less than $1. Like Illuvium, the most expensive one, $228. But you can obviously get in for anything on any of these exchanges. Pick a couple that you're getting a feel for. Pick a couple that you want to see how the world, how it develops, and start investing. It doesn't have to be a lot. It doesn't have to be, even a percentage of your income. Just here and there, you get an extra $100, maybe throw it in one of these projects, because when they're down the way they are, 60, 70%, going back up to, I think, was Illuvium. I don't want to say something that's not true, but I think Illuvium was at one time $1,500 or $1,600 per coin.
1,800 is what I remember, but yeah, I don't. It could have been 16, but 18.
And now it's less than $250. So,
yeah, do you believe in the project?
Right, and this is what everybody says when times are good. It's like, oh, you just want to be buying in all the time, even when it goes down. And then as soon as it starts to go down, people panic and they don't want to put any money into it.
Yeah.
Maybe, or they want to, the money that they've got in there, they decide, it's lost so much that they sell. Don't be investing if you need the money next week. But if you've got some money that you're just going to spend somewhere else, going to the movies, going out to eat, gambling away for, on the NBA finals, maybe throw a little bit on some of these projects that have some staying power. Some of these projects that just brought in $300 million, $75 million, you know what I mean? That are building these metaverse projects that are worldwide, huge projects ready to go. That are on sale right now.
I like to call them game changers, Ben.
Good point, Ryan. And it really is. It's like somebody saying, hey, the new Halo's coming out in 2 years and you have a chance to own a piece of it. I think that's where this is going. I think these games are going to start rivaling, if not even just showing up on PlayStations and Xboxes. They're seamlessly integrated now into online gaming anyway. There's very rarely a game that comes out that isn't on the Live or the PlayStation Network. So it's only a matter of time before you're able to start double dipping and earning on those systems as well as computers. So grab a couple, man. It'd be interesting just to see it up. And it's like everybody wants to buy in when Illuvium's at $1,800 because everything's so exciting. And it was only at $500 a few weeks ago. Well, now it's less than $300.
Yeah.
Now's your chance to get in. If it goes back up to normal time, it's 6 times your money.
Yeah, research some projects you're interested in. Check out some of our other videos because we've covered quite a few to this point. Yeah. Let us know what you're interested in, what you're buying into, and keep us, once you've done that too, keep us apprised of how it's going. I mean, clearly we're missing out on other projects we haven't covered, but this is one heck of a roller coaster ride. I'd like to hear about how it's going for other people.
We've done episodes on 4 of the top 5 projects right here. I'm not sure what the Theta network is, whether it's just Ryan, you know anything about Theta?
No, I've heard that name and I don't remember. I was thinking it's kind of like an Animoca or something like that,
Gotcha.
But I don't know.
So yeah, we've done episodes on 4 out of those top 5. So that's pretty, if you want to go back and start there, they're nice, long, drawn out episodes where you can learn a lot, but also a lot has changed since we've done Decentral. When we're talking in Decentraland episode, we were excited about the price then, and I think it was $2.37, and now it's under 90 cents. So I've just been increasing
we're making history.
I've been increasing my bag every 2 weeks, so I suggest you do the same without actually suggesting it. That would make me liable for your financial situation.
Right. Yeah, that would be awkward.
Right.
Next episode, we're gonna tackle Next Earth again and all the stuff that's been going on there, right? Because it's holy cow,
yeah,
there's a lot.
Because everybody knows that's one of Ryan and my favorite metaverse, but there is plenty going on in Next Earth, but both with good stuff, less than good stuff, and hopefully by the end of this month, they're supposed to be having their actual land staking capabilities for earning NXTT. And if that's the case, we'll have I'll be staking almost 500,000 coins. So
it is not. It's getting pushed back to like.
Are you reading it right now?
September or October? No. This is because I listening to the AMAs this week, and in the Discord they're pushing it way back because of all the stuff that's happened. Basically, well, I won't get into it, but
yeah. Well, that's frustrating because they very rarely miss the mark on their roadmap, and June was supposed to be land staking.
Yeah, they've been true to their character, but yeah, so it's getting pushed back, but yeah, so we'll
that drops the price more, and I can get more.
100%. Yeah, I'm with you there. But we'll see how that unfolds, and we're also going to be putting out a video of my massive blunder of getting scammed. I got some very painful but yet very funny video and screen recording and pictures and stuff of that process of the scammer running me through the meat grinder. So we're all about learning on this channel, Ben, even if it's at my own expense and pride.
Very few people will take a beating the way Ryan did and record it for the channel while it's happening, while this guy is goading him, while this guy is stealing all of his stuff. Ryan was surprisingly upbeat about it and kept a pretty good document trail of it, pictures, screenshots, the whole 9. So hopefully you can learn from his boneheaded mistake.
Yes, because it, as they say, it could happen to anyone, unfortunately. But yep, that'll be coming out. That ought to be real good for a lot of people, if nothing more than a laugh and
yeah, I'm gonna laugh
and name calling. But hopefully people will learn. So that's all I got.
All right, that's all I got.
All right, we'll see you on the next one.
See you later.